welcome back to Better Than Fiction with Janette and Eden. This is our July wrap-up. We are halfway through.
Yay!
Yeah. So,
we're both rocking too.
Yeah. Janette had big news this month.
Oh, I DNF'd my number book this month. Thistlefoot, which has a really cool cover, but I struggle with the retelling of fables and the retelling of fairy tales into a more modern setting. They're usually not my thing. And that's what this book was about. It took the Jewish fairy tale or folklore about Baba Yaga and golems and meshed it with a weird moving house that was transported to America, and it was losing me. And so I just struggled half the month trying to start this book, and I ended up DNFing it. Because we all tell you, it's okay, find a book that you like, find a book that speaks to you. I had to go do that finally. I gave myself permission to DNF Thistlefoot, and then Eden wanted it, so it's passed on.
Yeah. I'll read it, and I'll probably like it, because I do like that kind of
And if you're interested, we do own a copy here at the facility.
Yeah. We want to finish up your wrap-up?
Sure. So my yellow cover was Big Tree by Brian Selznick. This is a juvenile book. Just stunning. While it is a juvenile book, adults will get as much out of it as a kid. And with stunning Brian Selznick illustrations. So if you don't recognize the author, he did Hugo Cabaret. So if you had read that book with all those beautiful illustrations, Big Tree is actually the story of a seed since pre-dinosaur, and follows him through and how a seed lives and then manages to be a tree, further down, because seeds hold on to their lifespan and then can be planted much later. So awesome story, highly recommend. So that was my yellow book. My nonfiction that I read was The Lost Gutenberg. It is mostly about the Gutenberg Bible, number 45. And it is the only book that had ever been owned specifically by a woman. And so it's about book collecting. It's about the Gutenberg Bibles were the first, of course, books that were ever printed with type print. So they're the first printed books with type print. So that, you just got the whole history. You really got to know the history of some huge bibliophiles across the centuries. And of course, the woman's story owning and what happened to the collection afterwards. Kind of the rise and fall of book collecting. Fascinating book. This one was one of my books, but it will be able to be checked out here at the library, because I'm going to give it to the library, because I think fellow bibliophiles may find this book very, very interesting.
Yeah. Great. So my number 8 was The Reading List by Sarah Nisha Adams, and I loved it. That was just such a fun concept of a young person finding a reading list in a book, and then she went ahead and read the full list. She also happened to be a librarian or work at a library, and then she was recommending those books to this elderly man who was just getting into reading, and it's a great read for book lovers. Highly recommend that one. And then my nonfiction was Greek mythology. I just did kind of a touch-up of all the stories and the main myths out there. And some of them I had confused myself what their history was. So it was nice to get myself corrected in some of those stances. And that one had beautiful illustrations in it as well. And then I ended up reading 2 yellow cover books this month. I read The Unhoneymooners. My friend told me I had to read it, so I read it. And that was fun. I read that one on vacation, and that was a perfect vacation read. And then I read one of my books that I had bought, A Witch's Guide to Fake Dating a Demon. And it was just so funny. It was a romp to read. They were the witty banter between the two characters, and the power of a soul was very, very cool in that book. So
Fun title.
yeah. All right. Those were our wrap-ups.
I got to read a few other things, but that, some of our new books on the new shelf. So if you haven't been in a while, we have really loaded down the new bookshelf again with a new round of new books. So come check them out.
Yeah. All right.
Moving
Number.
on. What's our number?
There you go.
We are reading number 11.
All right.
Number 11. For me.
Oh, go ahead.
That is The Forest of Vanishing Stars by Harmel. So it is historical fiction.
Okay. And I'll be reading Norse Mythology by Neil Gaiman.
Oh, that one is awesome.
I've never read Neil
You must
Gaiman.
listen to that, at least partially in audio.
Do an audiobook of that one.
He reads it.
Oh,
so you have
cool.
his accent, because you know he's
I
British.
did not know. This is my first Neil Gaiman.
Oh,
I've always wanted to read him.
Oh, and I am not a mythology lover as a whole. There's been a few recently that I love. Love this.
Okay, look at that. That's exciting.
So number 11.
And reading prompt. Get another cover. Those are fun.
All right. A sequel.
You've been putting off.
You've been putting off.
Perfect. I have one.
Oh my god! This is so perfect for Eden.
I love it.
Oh, I'm not sure what. Because if I wanted to read it right away, I do. That one could be hard.
I read the first book of the Poppy Wars earlier this month for the reading challenge TBR list, and I have the second. I just haven't read it yet because I've been reading the rest of the challenge books, so I'm pretty excited.
I'm not sure I have a second that I haven't read. So what happens then?
You have to start a series.
Oh!
There's probably one somewhere in your backlog.
But the whole idea is the TBR thing.
Yeah. Backlog.
Yeah. I'll have to think about that. That could be hard.
And then,
Our nonfiction reads. I am heading over to the 700s. And you may have seen this book before. Eden has recommended it. And it fascinated me when she talked about it. And then a patron came in and said, you gotta read this. So I'm gonna read this this month since I had not filled out my 700s.
yeah, that's a fun one. I am sitting between two books. I'm unsure which ones I'm going to pick up. But I will be reading in the 500s in science. I've got The Brief History of Earth, 4 billion years in 8 chapters. Or Entangled Life, How Fungi make our world change our minds and shape our future. It matches my little bandana today.
That one I read and it's also good.
Ooh, that text though.
Oh, what you were
that
reading.
Was the notes.
Think about how short that book actually is, because there's a lot of notes in there.
Yeah.
But it is a very good book.
Yeah.
I read it when it first came out.
Yeah.
So
there
I think we have some really good picks.
Yeah.
We have some really great stuff on our shelves.
Yeah.
One of them I picked up was
It's a Mystery by Barry. You were just talking about it over lunch.
Oh, but I have that's my mystery book that I'm going to pick up to read.
Oh.
Because I have not finished my bingo on reading a mystery, or one of the challenges of reading a mystery. Going to be in my cat book that I needed to read a mystery. But I had not read one yet, so I will be doing that. I don't see it on bingo. But it must have been in my cat book.
Oh.
My book that I write my stuff in has its own little
Reading challenge.
Yes, and I am missing the mystery book.
There it is.
See, it is blank, so my goal is to fill that one out. So I'll be filling that out. So I'm excited. I think he writes really interesting ways, and a literary mystery is kind of what I call his. We have a police detective. No cats and no baking in that particular mystery.
Bummer. All right. Well, reminder, you are reading TBR number 11 and a sequel that you've been putting off.
All right, here we go. It's hot this week, so stay in, get that TBR list read down.
Happy reading.
Happy reading.